Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Chase on Two Wheels here at Mountain Motorsports in Roswell. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a used version of a Chase on Two Wheels first ride. We have in front of us a 2018 Honda CB1000R. So this would be the counterpart to the MT-10 that I've stolen from Yamaha and will never give back. This is a used model, so it has mileage on it. I think it has approximately 6,000 miles. The previous owner has done some modifications. We got some bar ends, we have mirrors, we have a phone mount, we have a missing bolt, we have, what else? We've got an acro exhaust. You guys already heard the sound check, you know what it sounds like. And this bike has it has a tail tidy, but it also has a single-sided swing arm. I'm excited. You guys know these bikes are my jam right now. I love the 1000cc nakeds. They are my favorite. And without further ado, we need to get this thing started. Alright guys, so that's what it looks like, that's what it sounds like. Now before we get going, I want to give a shout out to Wreck Bike Rebuild because we are getting to the end of our season. So there are only so many chances to get entered to win our CBR 1000 that we're building into a Street Fighter motorcycle. So this is kind of the same vibe. You guys click that top link down below to check out patreon.com/chaseontwowheels. Win yourself a custom motorcycle. And in the meantime, I'm gonna crank this thing up.
So guys, this first start is brought to you by the Wreck Bike Rebuild Garage Patreon page. If you guys don't know, we run a show called Wreck Bike Rebuild Garage where we take wreck motorcycles, we take them into the shop, we rebuild them, and we turn them into the dream motorcycles you guys are looking at right here. If you guys want to sign up, you can do so for as little as $5, and part of that Patreon page is you get week ahead content, you get other posts that we do only to that Patreon page, and you get to help us decide what stuff we do to each of the dream bikes to build them. That top link down below will take you over to the page. Hope to see you guys there.
All right guys, thank you for sending through the ad, much appreciated. We would not be able to afford our cool camera car if we didn't have the ads, so thank you to them. All right, let's get her cranked up. Okay, we're kind of subtle. The seat is hot as hell. Legs are only slightly bent here, guys. We're on like probably a medium-heighted motorcycle. I tell you guys all the time, I'm 5'10", I got a 32-inch inseam, so take that information for what you will. We got a cool dash here. We're in rain mode. There's a mode button. Oh, the mode button is more of like it cycles through everything. We have rain, we have standard, and sport, and user. Okay, so we've got T, E, B, and P. I assume that's power, I assume that's traction, and obviously engine braking. Okay, we're in rain mode, it's hot. I'm gonna go before I get too much hotter. Let's go. All right, here we go. Dang! Hello, Akrapovic exhaust. I see you. Better yet, I hear you. My goodness, man. This thing was kind of chill at the parking lot. Then we get going. This thing is here for it. Yeah, yes, ma'am. All right, guys, we are on the 2018 Honda CB1000R. This thing's the business, unlike this red light. bros, we might get rain. We might actually have to put the bike back in rain mode. That's funny. Guys, while we're stuck at the red light, I've got to say, these mirrors are not the bee's knees. Like, they are just in a terrible position. I'm going to be watching them throughout this first drive, but my goodness, I'm not a fan right now. Alright, we can finally go and get some air. Good job. Alright guys, so we're here on the bike. Let's talk body position, because that is supremely important. I'm relatively upright, slightly leaned forward. My legs are kind of in a medium position as far as tucked up. And the really interesting thing is, I feel like my arms are stretched outwards pretty far. You know, typically on naked bikes, my arms kind of drape down some. And as you guys can probably see from the camera car, my arms are honestly like down and straight. There's no kind of lack or slack to them at all. I will say it's a really comfortable body position. The seat feels on the harder side, but it's kind of in the middle. So I feel like it's going to be a really good seat. I imagine you'd be able to move around a lot, and I feel like I can easily move around on this type of seat. So I got this kind of slightly aggressive neutral position. I guess overall, if I was going to, you know, judge the body position with being slightly moved forward, and the handlebars where they are, the seat is movable. Not as in you can move the seat, but you can move while on the seat. Very interesting body position. I'm a little shocked. I guess the seat sits lower than something like my MT10, so my body is sitting lower, which is what is raising my arms up. That's interesting. That's a very interesting body position for a naked bike. So obviously we're on city streets, and we'll test this out on the highway as well, but moving the bike around, you know, similar to a lot of the bikes that have handlebars, I do feel like I have a lot of maneuverability in the bars. But I do feel like I have slightly less maneuverability because of the upwards position that my arms are at. Typically, if my arms are coming down onto the motorcycle, I feel like I have my weight behind it. But with my arms kind of facing out forward, I do feel like I have less ability to like really aggressively move the bike around. I will say for a 1000cc bike though, you know, we're doing good in the weight department. This does not feel heavy at all. I'm happy with it, and I will say rain mode's a little strong. My goodness, man. You guys always know I like modes being totally different, and if this bike is going to progress up and all the modes are going to be different, this bike's going to be fast AF, because rain mode's already yanking me around. I do kind of wish rain mode would be a little more toned down, but you know, that's just what it is. Let's see if we can change it on the fly. We can. We're in standard mode now. Ooh, that power tapers on. Interesting. Let's play around with that. Oh, buzzing. Goodness Christ. Can you guys hear that buzzing? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a bolt loose or something, but anything above 7,000 RPMs and we get like a weird buzz. And I will say there seems to be a decent amount of vibration in the foot controls. So the rear set's a little weird. I wouldn't have expected a Honda to be shaking. It's supposed to be smooth. Smooth. Alright, so we're in standard now. Power is at level 2 of 3. Engine braking is at max still, I think. And traction control is now at 2 of 3. So we will see how that goes. The bike only feels marginally more aggressive here on city streets in standard mode as compared to rain mode. This kind of feels fine for standard mode. Because, you know, I was saying rain mode felt a little too aggressive, but we've caught up to where we should be now. Throttle's responding really nicely, though. I can just give it just a little throttle to keep me in its speed in traffic, and I'm not getting yanked around, which I do appreciate that a lot. We're going to try to just get through these cars real quick, take advantage of my size. Thank you. This bike feels really planted on the road. I'm liking this, man. This is just seeming like a phenomenal machine as a daily rider right now. You know, we're in this crappy traffic. This isn't really fun riding, but inevitably it's what we all get stuck in. And I am noticing that if I was to judge a bike in height, we're looking at like a medium heighted motorcycle, or at least that's how it feels. I know you guys can read spec sheets on what the seat height is, but a lot of seat height information has to do with how wide the seat is. So regardless of what information you're reading online, it is a medium heighted motorcycle, and maybe the stats say that, but if they don't, you know, that's just stuff for you guys to keep in mind. I gotta say, I do not like this tint on these mirrors. It's not like a film that hasn't been taken off yet, right? Oh, that's on there. I don't like these at all. I don't like the way they look. I don't like the way they work. I would much rather have some bar-in situations. Do we have cruise control here? We don't. Okay. We are on the 2018 model, and this color is purple. Is it changing? I guess we can talk about the dash real quick. I kind of like the dash. You know, it took me a second to realize where all my info is, but I kind of like that my stuff can just change on the fly. I am a little curious how modes are able to change without holding the clutch in. That's a little interesting, but makes me wonder if they're actually working. But yeah, the dash looks kind of cool. It fits the vibe. I would have to look into a more newer model CB1000R, because if they took this model of the dash and just made it out of a TFT, I think that would be so cool. It fits, you know, the font and everything fits with this motorcycle, or at least the vibe that this motorcycle has. I kind of am liking the steering weight, you know, like it's about medium weighted. It's not really flicky, but I feel good going through traffic. You know, I feel like I'm a substantial piece of machinery right here. Sometimes you're on lighter motorcycles and it makes you, you know, feel a little fragile maybe, but this thing seems like a thick old boy, but then it's not that heavy. You know, leaning it back and forth doesn't feel that bad. It might be worse for a shorter rider because you wouldn't have the foot control that I do, but I can flat foot, you know, so I feel like I'm in a pretty solid spot. Clutch feels really good in the stop and go traffic. You know, it's constantly stopped, feather the clutch out, get going. I have no problems with that. We got adjustability on the left, but we got to get out of this, man. There's all that vibration. Yeah, there's a mod on this bike that's vibrating. I don't think it's the actual bike. I know the foot pegs are definitely vibrating, but I don't think that sound is anything of the motorcycle itself, which is good news. That'd be terrifying. The bike does vibrate a decent amount when you're higher in the revs. I'm really interested. We're coming up here on the highway, and we're probably gonna have the revs up pretty high, so I'm curious how it's gonna feel, because if you're commuting on this thing, man, that's not gonna be good. And this would be a great commuter bike, you know, as far as power and comfort and everything. I hope it does a good job. Before we get on the highway, guys, we're gonna get this thing in sport mode. All right, cool. Oh, the color changes based on the mode you're in, I think. Okay, so it goes blue, purple, red. Our traction control is at the lowest, power's at the highest, engine braking is pretty low now as well. We'll see what she's all about. Also, I will remind you guys, we perform all of our highway testing here on First Rides in Mexico. So we are at Mexico over this line, boom, in Mexico border. Power seeming to taper on a little faster now. Stuff to note in mode sport. There's our, oh, the seat's vibrating now. Oh no, oh no. What are we in, fourth going 70, and we still got vibration all over the place. So power, you're on a taper on. Oh, we got to get rid of that. So this power is just tapering on. It's not hitting you in the face really hard at any point. At least that's here on the highway. We do have a lot of noise going on though, my goodness. So easily enough power to do what you got to do here on the highway, guys. Wind-wise, as you guys can probably hear, I'm having to yell just to hear myself. The wind's actually, as you would expect, pretty bad. We don't have any fairing in front of us. There's no point in tucking. That's not going to do anything for you. But it is nice to have the amount of power that is delivered in such a smooth way. It makes it easy and safe to, look at that, one hand, bog it down, no problem. Let's do a little, you know. Let's go 70. What can we cruise at 70 at? Fifth gear, bike's not too loud. This is fine. It's not till you get a little crazy with it that it gets loud. Look at that, just tapers on. Now we're going somewhere. Now we're moving. Not a bike to ride like this, man, on the highway. My goodness me. Woo! I will say the shift light was going off. It was kind of hard to see though. You know, it was blinking white or whatever. Kind of hard to see, but it is what it is. Oh, I realized the screen's got this area and that area at the bottom. Pretty cool. You know, honestly, guys, if you're going to get this to commute at 70 miles an hour right now, going 6th gear, this is fine. It's not bad. Just, you're not going to really have a great time really doing dumb stuff on the highway, which is good. You shouldn't do dumb stuff on the highway anyway. But, as you guys can see, we're almost done here on the highway, so we'll see how this thing settles into a corner. Alright, let's get into a gear that makes sense, and yeah, we're kind of chilling. We're moving around a little bit. I can kind of feel the bounciness. I don't feel locked in place, but I certainly don't feel bad. I don't know how much ground clearance I have to lean the bike over too much more. I will say I didn't feel terribly unconfident in that turn, but I definitely didn't have a like super good sense of confidence. You know, I could just feel it bouncing a little bit. I've ridden enough motorcycles now to where I like to tell you guys, like, I'm not an expert when it comes to suspension, but I do know a good suspension when I'm feeling it, and I didn't feel terrible. We do have adjustable front suspension, which is nice, but you know, it feels a little unsettled in a turn. Not terrible, and I'm not a great rider, so keep that in mind. You guys gotta take all this with a grain of salt. Goodness. All right, we're gonna put the front wheel back down. Good God.
2018 CBR 1000R. Beautiful, beautiful naked bike. This one's got an Akrapovic exhaust on it. It's pretty sick. Yeah, I'm really digging this thing. Naked stylings with the performance of a CBR 1000. Really, really like this bike.
For me, this is probably one of my most favorite Hondas. I really think they hit the nail on the head with the retro, up-to-date, almost futuristic styling of the machine. Single-sided swing arm, all the angular lines of it. I really, really like the looks of this machine. The fact that it is, you know, leader powered is a plus, of course, with all the power you could want or need right at the tap. It is a pretty sweet machine. I dig it for sure.
We'll put it in standard mode. Standard seems to be kind of where I like it. Even in sport mode, I'm surprised that the power tapers on like that. There is still a pretty low curve before the power hits. You got it. I mean, it is an inline four. This engine is from a slightly older CBR 1000RR, their Super Sport. So it's still an inline four. You're still gonna have to rev it up, as you guys could see. But I mean, it's kind of, I can see it in both ways, right? One, I like that the power tapers on like that because it does make the bike easier to ride. But that also means that you aren't a psychopath from a get-go. In one hand, that's good. It'll probably keep you alive longer. In the second hand, you're gonna, if you're in a lower RPM on a naked bike, you do have an expectation of being able to get going quickly. And once you've got some revs up, you know, it'll go. But even in the higher modes, the modes that I should be very quick, I feel a little underpowered, which is crazy. Like, to be clear, this bike is far more bike than I'll ever be able to handle. But that being said, I kind of feel like Honda might have tried to smooth the bike out, because that, you know, that's what Honda does and does well. But in doing that, I feel like they've kind of capped me out low in the RPMs, or at least low when I power on. You know, when I'm on a 1000 and I do like that, I want to go somewhere, and it takes a second. I don't really like it taking a second. Let's see if we can get this green light. We'll slow down so we don't ramp this thing. Yeah, you know, it gets in a turn. It's not anything bad, like like I rode a Speed Twin recently, and you know, in a turn it was just kind of woo woo. I didn't like that feeling at all, and this one is definitely more stable than that. But you know, I want to feel locked in a turn regardless of the type of bike I'm on, and I want it to settle in there, and I just didn't really get a solid planted feeling on this. I will say, man, that acro on this bike sounds great. I wasn't a huge fan of it on the highway. It's a little lot, if you know what I mean, for my taste. But around town and stuff, which is, you know, where this bike would shine, I think this is sounding really good. As you guys could see on the dash, we do have controllable engine braking. But if I was to just generally give the engine braking a score, I would definitely say it's kind of medium to the lighter side. It's not really intrusive, so a lot of you guys might actually enjoy that. I'm okay with my engine braking making my head yank forward, so it's a little light for me. I appreciate that you can control that in the modes. Actually, you know, let's test out that light. The light turns blue in rain. It turns darker blue in user, red in sport, purple in standard. Pretty cool. You guys are gonna have to let me know in the comments, how is this engine, or how is this bike doing the mode changes without the need to pull in the clutch? Does anybody know how's that a thing? I don't really understand that, and if I have the correct understanding, specifically traction control is what you're mainly benefiting from when you have to pull the clutch in for mode changes. So maybe I'm wrong, I very often am, but that's interesting to me, that like, how did Honda figure out how you can do that and nobody else has? Right now, as far as this power is delivered, guys, I gotta say the bike is feeling very approachable. So like my MT10, it's a 2019 MT10. Doesn't have really any mods on it other than an exhaust and a couple exterior things. But even in mode 3, which is the lowest mode for the MT10, the bike is not, the power comes on a good bit quicker than this. And when I put that thing all the way into mode 1, it is a twitchy demon. So it's interesting that this power curve, it feels like it does on this bike. You know, it's a naked bike. I think a lot of people expect these things to be rideable, but sometimes feel a little more raw, a little more punchy to the power. And I'm not getting that. I'm getting that very typical feel of an inline 4 on a super sport, where you've got to crank into the power. And that's rider preference. You know, some people like that, and some people want kind of that aggressive power. And I do realize the MT10 and the CB1000R, I do know they're totally different engines as an inline 4. That's a cross-plane engine, and the MT10 is just the bee's knees with extra legs, you know what I'm saying? So as far as controls go, you know, clicking through the buttons, high beam, low beam, I'm not going to do the horn right now. I have a traction control button, but I don't see it do anything. Interesting. The buttons on the bike feel great. I think they have the perfect amount of tactile feel. You know, I could be blind and just moving my fingers around and doing buttons, and I can know for a fact Honda has done a great job with the buttons. The controls are nothing crazy, so you know, there's nothing really that stands out. They don't look great, they don't look bad, they're kind of just like right in the middle, which is fine. You know, they're controls, it is what it is. I care far more about what my controls feel like than what they look like, and and how they, as long as they work and they feel good, that's the most important thing. I think they laid it out pretty well. I love that we have a mode button. Again, you know, this bike does very similar to, what bike was it that I rode the other day? Oh, the CBR, of course, the CBR 1000R. I don't like that they've called this a mode button when it is honestly a select button. That kind of rubs me wrong, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I don't know, my opinion though. So guys, we're gonna pull into this little church parking lot and take a look at this bike, because it is one of the best looking naked bikes on the market, if you're asking me. Oh, there's a little blow up slippy slide. Oh, somebody parked in our spot. That son of a bitch. Lord help me. We're gonna park over here, but oh, just know I'm not happy about it. Ah, the lady, she's looking. She took my spot and she knows it. Alrighty guys, 2018 CBR 1000R. Here's the cool thing I love about this bike. It's a non-Italian bike that you can get a single-sided swing arm on. How freaking amazing is that? I love the look so much. So, things to note. We do have a fender eliminator kit, but this is one of those bikes that does the little, the license plate goes around to the rear tire, so it typically sits back here, similar to the MT-09. Did that person move when I got to my spot? I'm upset now. That's the acro exhaust. Looks okay. The pipe looks a little exposed. I think this bike would look incredible if the exhaust was kind of tucked underneath. I think that would be really one of the only ways to get this bike looking fire. Other than that, the only things I would personally change is I think it's got a little too much silver. I think this bike would look incredible with like a blacked out edition. So you take all the little chrome bits and black them out. There's not that many here right now, but I think that would be so sick looking. Bike's got this cool headlight. Blinkers look good. I think those are stock. If they're not, you guys can let me know. But, I mean, just overall, oh, we got an adjustable lever. Cool. And the one thing that Honda's doing, thank God, keys in the top. I don't want to look under my motorcycle to get my tail off. Please. But yeah, guys, that's the Honda CB1000R. As far as these like Neo Cafe things, I think Honda's doing some of the best in the looks department. I love the way it looks, guys. And speaking of the way it looks, we are going to take a photo for Instagram. So, guys, if you're not following us over on Instagram, it's at C2WPics. I always post first ride photos, and we always post the some photos that we're doing with all the other videos we're doing on the channel. So, if you go over there and follow us, we would love you guys long time. C2WPics. All right, guys. So that's the Honda. Let's get on this thing and let's discuss who this thing's for right now. Is it just me, or do you guys get tripped out when the keys are in the gas tank? I don't know why, but I always see that and I'm like, I don't know if I like this or not. I feel weird. I feel like the key should be by the cluster, but it is what it is. So far, no rain on two wheels. I'm digging it. So just to try something out, when I'm on my MT-10, I put it in the slowest mode, the rain mode, and when I crank on the throttle, I'll do a power wheelie. We're gonna do that here, and we'll get in rain mode, because that's what rain mode is on the MT-10, and then we'll crank it. Okay, now I will say the front wheel did get a little light, and the power is more punchy on this motorcycle. When you hit the power band, you feel the power band. But let me go ahead and tell you guys, the power that I gave this bike is about twice as much as I give my MT-10, and the front wheel just float up. Do it all the time. I'm to the point I feel comfortable doing it, so obviously I'm doing it too much. The power 100% hits different on this thing, so that's something you got to keep in mind. So overall, I think that of all the, and granted I haven't ridden all of them, but of all the super nakeds I've ridden, I think that this guy, the CB1000R, could be one of the most approachable And the reasoning for that is honestly the power. You know, we're talking like with this super naked department right now, we are talking about some incredible motorcycles, and they have got a lot going for them. We'd love to see something like cruise control on this bike. You know, there's a few more bells and whistles that would be nice to have on a top model bike like this, but I feel like it's approachable because, one, it's got a really cool look, but the way the power is delivered is gonna make it to where you've got a little bit of time before the bike could potentially get away from you. I think the MT10 could get away from you far faster than this could. And I think for a lot of riders, they're probably not gonna just crank the bike throttle wise. I feel like less people are gonna crank the throttle and really get it going. That'll give them plenty of time to really realize they're getting into the power band. I'm gonna lose my mind. See, like I just did, you know, I pulled out of that car and I had some time. The bike has that, it has that time that it has to build up power before you really get going. Now, if you really know your motorcycle, I don't think that's something that you would really enjoy. And if you do enjoy it, you'll probably lean into that. But, you know, did that dude almost just fall? But, you know, did that dude almost just fall? I'm curious now. I personally don't like that on the MT10. I don't really like that I have to rev it up a lot. I don't feel like that matches with these motorcycles, but I think for somebody maybe upgrading from a 650 class bike, I think this bike would feel great for you. It would be a good step, whereas the MT10 would be a little bit more of a jump. So I feel like that's kind of the ideal person. Somebody that's on a 650 class bike, they know that they like this kind of naked segment, but they're a little worried to jump into too much power. This might be a better shot for you. And I just want you guys to know that's hard for me to say because that MT10 is probably one of the best bikes I've ever had. It's for sure the best bike I've ever had. But like, it's a glorious motorcycle, but it's a lot to handle, and you got to want to handle that. Guys, before we get out of here, I got to give a shout out to my guys over at Mountain Motorsports in Roswell, or Mountain Motorsports in period. If they didn't allow me to borrow motorcycles and do first rides, I would not be here making videos for you guys. So big shout out to them. Thank you guys so much for letting me do these. And if you guys are interested and you're in the North Georgia area and you want to buy your next motorcycle or dance in your Kia Forester, that's dangerous as shit. If you're gonna be looking for your next motorcycle, make sure to check out Mountain Motorsports. They are the awesome dealership in North Georgia that I would not get to do this without. You guys are... Yes. Anyways, guys, thanks for riding around with me. I'm Chaseontwowheels. Click down below to check out Mountain Motorsports in the description. And outro crew, let me know, what kind of power are you guys looking for in a naked bike? Do you want that hit of power, or are you fine with that inline four? I like that grunty stuff, man. That's what I'm looking for when I'm in a situation like this. Guys, if you're in the outro crew, make sure to put OC in your comment, and that tells me you're in the outro crew and that you made it to the end of the video, which means I love you long time. All right, guys, I'll see y'all on the next one where I pick up a rock that size. Just kidding. All right, guys, later.